The stars above Earth had always seemed like a distant dream, something humans could only admire from afar. Yet, in the year 2467, that dream had become a mission. The future of humanity depended on the stars now. Earth was dying, and resources were dwindling at an alarming rate. For centuries, humanity had been trapped within the limits of its home planet. But now something far bigger was on the horizon. The Galactic Council, made up of the universe's most powerful beings, had failed Earth. They had promised to help, to offer advanced technology to heal the planet. But their promises had turned into empty words, and now Earth was on the brink of collapse. The people of Earth had no choice. They had to look to the stars, and they had to look for something new. A hidden signal had been detected at the far edge of the galaxy. It was a beacon that no one had seen before, an uncharted region of space. The signal was old, older than any civilization they knew. But it was clear. There was something out there, waiting to be discovered. Captain Amelia Vega stood at the front of the command center aboard Elysium, the largest and most advanced ship ever built by humankind. Her mind raced as she gazed out into the endless darkness of space, preparing for a journey unlike anything Earth had ever attempted. The mission was simple: follow the signal, explore the unknown, and find whatever lay beyond it. But there was one problem. No one knew what was out there. The crew had trained for months, preparing for every possible scenario. But no matter how much they studied, how much they prepared, there was always the fear of the unknown. The crew was filled with a mixture of excitement and dread, knowing that their fates were sealed the moment they left the safety of Earth's orbit. "Captain, we're ready," Lieutenant Marco Delaney's voice broke through her thoughts. He was the ship's second in command, and his steady hand had been a source of comfort during the endless preparations. "Are we?" Captain Vega asked, her voice soft but laced with tension. They were about to leave everything they knew behind. There would be no going back. The journey to the unknown was irreversible. The engines of Elysium roared to life, shaking the ship as it lifted from the launch pad. The massive vessel trembled as it climbed higher, leaving Earth's atmosphere behind. The crew fell silent as they broke through the clouds, looking out at the endless expanse of space before them. The darkness of space was beautiful, but it also felt like a reminder of how small and fragile humanity truly was. The bright stars in the distance were like distant beacons, telling them that this journey was just the beginning. Every member of the crew understood that this mission was not just about exploration. It was about survival. Elysium cut through the void at faster-than-light speeds, and soon the familiar stars began to fade into the blackness of space. The crew spent days on end in complete silence, save for the hum of the engines and the occasional update from the navigational officers. As the ship ventured further and further into the unknown, Captain Vega couldn't help but wonder, what were they about to uncover? The signal grew stronger with every passing day. The crew had started to notice strange anomalies in the data. The signal wasn't just constant. It was pulsing, almost like it was alive. It was as if something was calling them, guiding them, pulling them closer. "We're getting closer," Marco said one evening, his voice tinged with awe. "The source of the signal. It's only a few light years away now." The crew gathered in the observation deck, watching as the stars ahead of them began to form a strange shape. What had once been a cluster of random stars now seemed to converge into something planned. The shape was almost like an arc, glowing faintly in the distance. Captain Vega narrowed her eyes, leaning forward. There was something about that pattern that didn't feel right. It was too symmetrical, too perfect. It didn't fit with the randomness of the universe. Her heart began to race. "Is this what we've been looking for?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Before anyone could answer, the ship jolted. The light around them flickered. Elysium was suddenly surrounded by a vast field of energy, something invisible but incredibly powerful. "We've entered an unknown zone," the ship's chief engineer, Dr. Leah Hansen, reported quickly. "It's like nothing we've ever encountered. There's energy here, but it's erratic. The crew felt the ship shaking again, this time more violently. The walls trembled, and strange lights flickered throughout the ship. The ship's AI systems began glitching, unable to make sense of the data streaming in. "What's happening?" Captain Vega demanded, her heart pounding. Dr. Hansen tried to stabilize the systems, but it was no use. "It's like we've crossed some kind of boundary. We don't know what it is, but it's messing with our systems." As the energy field pulsed around them, Vega felt an eerie sense of déjà vu. Something was calling to her, just like the signal. She could feel it in the pit of her stomach. And then something happened. Elysium dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a sudden jerk, and everything went dark. The hum of the engines died, and for a brief moment, there was nothing but silence. Then the stars reappeared, only they were different. The crew stared in disbelief. The stars had changed. They were no longer the familiar constellations they had grown up with. They were new, completely new. They had crossed into an uncharted part of space, into something completely beyond the known universe. Captain Vega's voice broke the silence. "This is it. We found Terra Incognita." The crew was stunned. They had arrived. But what awaited them in this mysterious new world? Whatever it was sure to be a discovery beyond their wildest dreams. But it could also be the greatest danger humanity had ever faced. As Vega looked at the stars ahead of her, she knew one thing for sure. There was no turning back now. Whatever lay in Terra Incognita, it would change the course of history forever. The silence aboard Elysium was deafening as Captain Vega stared at the strange new stars ahead. For a moment, the crew was still, processing the reality of what they had just encountered. They had crossed into a completely unknown part of space. The stars had shifted, forming a new constellation that was unlike anything they had ever seen before. It wasn't just a different arrangement. It felt foreign, as if the very fabric of space itself had changed, and they were no longer in the universe they once knew. Captain Vega turned to her crew, her voice steady but filled with uncertainty. "What exactly are we seeing? What happened to our systems?" She looked at Dr. Hansen, who was already busy analyzing the data flooding in from the ship's instruments. "It's hard to say," Dr. Hansen replied, her brow furrowed. "We're not sure if we're still in the same galaxy. These stars, they're too close together, too bright. And there's something about the energy field that seems to be alive. It's like the whole space around us is conscious in some way." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. The idea that they were no longer in familiar space, that they had crossed into a new dimension or an entirely different galaxy, sent a ripple of anxiety through them. It wasn't just a new frontier. It was something uncharted, possibly dangerous. As the ship continued its slow drift, the lights flickered again, and the energy field surrounding them pulsed with intensity. The sensation was almost physical, like an invisible pressure on their skin. Vega felt her heart race. Whatever this place was, it felt alive, and it was watching them. "We need to proceed with caution," Vega said, her voice cutting through the tense air. "But we need answers. The future of humanity could depend on what we find here." She knew the risks, but they had no choice. They were in this together, bound to find out what lay ahead, no matter how terrifying it might be. Lieutenant Marco Delaney, who had been monitoring the external communications, turned sharply. "Captain, we're getting a transmission. A signal. It's coming from the center of the cluster." Vega's eyes narrowed as she stepped toward the communications panel. "What kind of signal?" she asked, already sensing that this wasn't a random message. Delaney shook his head. "It's not like anything we've received before. It's coded. Very old, too. It's almost as if it's been waiting for us." A chill ran down Vega's spine. Waiting for us. The thought of an ancient civilization, or worse, an intelligent entity that had been anticipating their arrival, was enough to set her nerves on edge. She couldn't help but wonder, had humanity been guided here by fate, or had they just stumbled into something far beyond their control? The transmission was growing stronger, a rhythmic pulse that echoed in the ship's system. It was a pattern, something deliberate. As the signal played, Vega felt an odd pull toward it, as if something inside her was responding to the message. It was almost hypnotic, like it was speaking directly to her, bypassing logic and reaching into her instincts. "Are we sure this is safe?" Dr. Hansen asked, her voice full of caution. "We don't know what's out there. We don't even understand this signal." "We don't have a choice," Vega replied firmly. "We came here to find answers. We're not turning back now." With the decision made, the crew adjusted their course toward the center of the strange star cluster. As Elysium moved deeper into this uncharted space, the stars around them grew brighter, almost as if they were guiding the ship forward. The tension was palpable. It was as if the universe itself had decided to push them further, to reveal its deepest secrets. And then, as the ship reached the heart of the cluster, something remarkable happened. The stars shifted once more, aligning into a perfect formation. The sky in front of them parted, revealing a massive structure, impossibly large and ancient, floating in the heart of the cluster. It was a massive spherical station, covered in unknown runes and symbols that pulsed with energy. The design was unlike anything human technology had ever produced. It was alien, powerful, and breathtaking in its complexity. "Is that a station?" Marco asked in disbelief, his eyes wide as the station filled the view screen. Captain Vega stood in awe, her breath caught in her throat. "That's not just a station," she murmured. "That's something far beyond anything we could ever imagine." The crew was silent, lost in the sheer scale of what they were seeing. The station was surrounded by a protective energy field, shimmering with an almost hypnotic glow. The signal they had followed seemed to be emanating from this station, as if it were the heart of the cluster, the source of all the strange energy that surrounded them. Vega's hand hovered over the ship's controls, her mind racing. They had come for answers, but what they had found was beyond anything they could have prepared for. This wasn't just a new discovery. It was the beginning of something far greater, something ancient. As Elysium moved closer, the energy field around the station seemed to grow stronger, pulling them toward it. Vega knew they had crossed a line. They were about to enter a place that had been hidden from the rest of the universe for eons. And in that moment, she understood that the fate of humanity wasn't just tied to Earth anymore. It was tied to whatever lay beyond this mysterious station, in the heart of Terra Incognita. They were no longer explorers on a journey for survival. They were witnesses to the beginning of a new chapter in the story of humanity, and whatever happened next would change everything forever. The unknown had finally revealed its face, and humanity's future was no longer in its own hands. It was in the hands of the ancient secrets of the stars. As Elysium continued its slow approach toward the massive structure, the atmosphere aboard the ship grew increasingly tense. Every crew member was on edge, each of them aware that they were about to make history. The entire ship hummed with energy, responding to the proximity of the ancient alien station. It was as if the very ship itself was aware of the magnitude of the discovery, and it seemed to pulse in sync with the mysterious energy field surrounding the station. Captain Vega stood at the helm, her hand gripping the controls tightly as she guided Elysium closer. Her mind was racing. They had prepared for every possible scenario on this mission. Encounters with alien species, hostile forces, unknown technologies, but nothing could have prepared her for this. The station before them was a marvel of ancient design, and the energy radiating from it was unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. It was as if the entire station was alive, breathing with a power that transcended anything they understood about the universe. "We're getting closer, Captain." Marco's voice crackled over the intercom. "We've got a clear path, but I'm picking up some strange fluctuations in the energy field. It's fluctuating between different frequencies, like it's reacting to us." "Stay alert," Vega ordered, her voice steady despite the storm of questions and emotions brewing inside her. "Whatever happens next, we must stay calm and focused." They were getting closer now, closer than ever before, and the mysterious signal that had led them here seemed to be growing stronger. It pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Vega couldn't shake the feeling that they were being drawn toward the station not by their own will, but by something far greater, a force that had been waiting for them for eons. As they neared the outer perimeter of the energy field surrounding the station, Dr. Hansen spoke up. "Captain, I'm getting strange readings from the ship's systems. It's as if the field is interfering with our technology. The comms, navigation, even our sensors. Nothing is stable. Can you stabilize it?" Vega asked, though she already knew the answer. This wasn't just interference. It was something more, something powerful. "I'm trying," Dr. Hansen said, her voice laced with concern. "But it's not just static. The signal we've been tracking, it's changing. It's becoming more complex, almost like it's speaking to us." Vega glanced at the view screen, her eyes narrowing as the station loomed larger. It was now only a few kilometers away, and she could see intricate patterns shimmering across its surface. The energy field surrounding it seemed to pulse, almost alive, like the station itself was aware of their presence. "We have to enter the field," Vega said, her mind made up. "We have no choice. We came here to discover something new, and this is it. We can't turn back now." A quiet murmur ran through the crew, but no one protested. They all understood the stakes. They were standing on the edge of history, about to uncover secrets that could change the future of humanity forever. With a final push, Captain Vega guided Elysium into the shimmering energy field surrounding the station. The ship passed through the barrier without incident, though the moment they crossed the threshold, a deep hum filled the air, and the ship seemed to shudder slightly, as if it had just crossed into another realm entirely. The crew members exchanged uneasy glances, but Vega remained focused. They were inside now. There was no turning back. The station was enormous, dwarfing Elysium by orders of magnitude. The ancient structure was a maze of metallic surfaces and glowing rooms, twisting in strange, organic patterns. It was impossible to tell if the station had been built or grown. The lines between technology and biology seemed to blur, creating an architecture that was both alien and organic in its appearance. A dark, almost hypnotic energy radiated from it, filling the entire space around them. As they approached the station's docking bay, the energy field seemed to shift, parting like a veil to reveal a massive open space. Elysium drifted toward a docking platform that appeared out of nowhere, as if the station itself had decided to welcome them. "What now?" Lieutenant Delaney asked, his voice tinged with awe and anxiety. "We land," Vega said firmly, though her heart was pounding in her chest. "We've come too far to turn back now. Prepare for landing." The ship slowly descended toward the platform, its engines humming as they adjusted to the station's unknown gravitational pull. The landing was smooth, but Vega couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. It was as if the station's very presence was a living thing, aware of them, waiting for them to make their next move. Once Elysium was securely docked, the crew stood in silence. Vega's mind raced with possibilities. What kind of civilization had created this station? Was it a relic of a long-dead empire, or had they discovered a still-active center of power, a place where ancient secrets lay hidden? "Captain," Marco said, breaking the silence, "I'm picking up a signal, but this one's different. It's coming from inside the station." Vega didn't hesitate. "Prepare an away team. We're going in." As the crew gathered their gear and made their way toward the airlock, Vega couldn't help but feel the weight of the moment. They were about to step into a place that no human had ever been before, a place that had remained hidden for millennia. Whatever lay inside, they would be the first to find it. And humanity's future depended on what they discovered. As the airlock door hissed open, the crew stepped into the unknown. The station's interior was vast, dark, and quiet. There were no signs of life, no immediate threats, but the sense of something ancient, something powerful, lingered in the air. It was clear that this place had a purpose, and whatever that purpose was, it was meant to be revealed now. Humanity had crossed the threshold into Terra Incognita. What would they find next? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain. The future of humanity would never be the same again. The team ventured deeper into the station, their footsteps echoing in the vast, empty halls. The air was thick with an eerie stillness, and the further they moved, the more oppressive the silence became. The walls were lined with strange, shimmering glyphs that glowed faintly, casting an ethereal light over everything. It was unlike anything they had seen before, a fusion of organic curves and intricate technology, as if the very structure was alive. As they proceeded, Vega couldn't shake the feeling that they were being observed, though there was no sign of any sentient life. It was as though the station itself was aware of their every move. Her hand instinctively rested on the blaster at her side, but she knew it wasn't the external threats that worried her. It was the unknown that lay ahead. Dr. Hansen, the ship's lead scientist, was the first to break the silence. These glyphs, they're not just decorative. They're a form of communication. I can't decipher them all, but some of them seem to match ancient human languages. This station, it's not just alien. It's connected to Earth in some way. Captain Vega turned to Dr. Hansen, intrigued. What are you suggesting? That this station was built by humans? I'm not sure, Hansen admitted, her brow furrowed in concentration. But these symbols, they bear a resemblance to ancient Earth scripts, some of the oldest we found. It's as if this place has been waiting for us, waiting for humanity to rediscover it. Vega's mind raced. Could it be possible? Had humanity once been far more advanced, lost to the sands of time, only to leave behind something so monumental? And why had they hidden it for so long? The questions mounted, but one thing was clear. The stakes were higher than ever. The team continued their journey through the winding corridors, and soon they came upon a large chamber. In the center of the room stood an enormous crystalline structure, glowing with a soft, pulsating light. The walls around it were adorned with more of the glyphs, but now they were arranged in intricate patterns that seemed to form a map of sorts. The map depicted a vast network of stars, some familiar and others entirely unknown. This is it, Lieutenant Delaney said, awe in his voice. This is what brought us here. Vega stepped forward, her gaze fixed on the crystal. It was mesmerizing, its surface rippling with energy, as though it were alive. As she reached out to touch it, the crystal flared with a brilliant light, and the glyphs on the walls began to shift. It was as though the station was reacting to her presence. A deep, resonant hum filled the room, and suddenly, a voice, an alien voice, boomed through the chamber. Humanity, the voice intoned, its tone both ancient and commanding. You have returned. The team froze, the weight of the words sinking in. It was impossible, yet it was happening. The voice continued, speaking in a language that was foreign yet oddly familiar. Dr. Hansen's eyes widened as she realized something. It's speaking in ancient Sumerian, she said in disbelief. The first human written language. Vega's heart pounded in her chest as she realized the significance of the moment. They had discovered something far more profound than they had ever imagined. This wasn't just an alien relic, it was a message meant for humanity. But what was it trying to tell them? And why had it been hidden for so long? The crystal continued to pulse, its light intensifying. The air around them seemed to vibrate with power, as though the very station itself was coming alive. The map on the walls shifted, zooming in on one particular star system. The coordinates were unmistakable, and Vega's heart skipped a beat as she recognized them. It's pointing to Earth, she said softly, the realization hitting her with a heavy weight. What does this mean? Marco asked, his voice trembling with a mix of excitement and fear. Vega took a deep breath, her mind spinning with the implications. It means that whatever this station is, whatever power it holds, it's connected to us. And it's time for humanity to take its place among the stars. But just as the words left her mouth, the room trembled. The crystal flickered, its glow fading for a moment before erupting into a blinding flash. The walls shook, and the ground beneath their feet quaked violently. Panic surged through the crew as the entire station seemed to awaken, its long-dormant systems coming online. "Get back to the ship," Vega shouted, her voice sharp with urgency. "We don't know what we've unleashed." The crew raced back down the corridor, their footsteps echoing in the chaos. The station was shifting, its once still walls now thrumming with power, and a deep guttural rumble filled the air. Something was awakening, something ancient and dangerous. Whatever secret the station held, it was no longer content to remain hidden. As the crew reached the docking bay, Vega looked back one last time. The station loomed behind them, its energy surging with a life of its own. The future of humanity had just taken a dark and uncertain turn. The map had pointed them toward Earth, but the path ahead was shrouded in mystery. And as Elysium lifted off from the station's surface, Vega knew that humanity's place among the stars had just become a far more dangerous and complex reality. Whatever lay ahead, they had awakened something that could change everything. There was no turning back. As Elysium ascended from the surface of the ancient station, the crew was still in shock, the events unfolding too rapidly to fully comprehend. Captain Vega sat in her seat, gripping the armrests tightly, her mind racing through the implications of what they had just encountered. The glowing crystal, the ancient map, the mysterious alien voice, it all pointed to one undeniable truth. Humanity was on the cusp of something monumental. But the danger was just as real as the opportunity. The shaking of the station as it awakened was not just a sign of a dormant system coming to life. It was a warning. "Captain," Lieutenant Delaney's voice broke through the tension. "We've lost all communication with the station. All systems are offline except for that crystal. It's still emitting a signal." Vega turned to face him, her brow furrowed. "What kind of signal?" "We're not sure yet," Delaney replied. "But it's broadcasting on multiple frequencies. Some of them are strange, even for us." "Keep trying to analyze it," Vega ordered. "We need to know what we're dealing with." Her attention turned to the holographic map that was still active in the center of the command bridge. The star system marked with Earth's coordinates blinked ominously. An invitation, or perhaps a trap. The further she studied the star chart, the more it became clear that the station was not just a relic. It was a guide, an artifact pointing toward something that had been lost to human history long before their first spacefaring ventures. Dr. Hansen entered the bridge, her face pale, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Captain, you need to see this." Vega stood immediately, gesturing for Hansen to explain. The scientist had been closely studying the station's data, and now she looked like she'd uncovered something of immense significance. "What did you find?" Hansen didn't waste any time. She tapped her wrist device and projected a series of data streams into the air. "The star system," she said, "the one the station highlighted. It's not just any system. It's part of an ancient network that humans once had access to, long before the first known interstellar colonization. The coordinates correspond to a lost civilization, a civilization that was wiped out centuries ago." Vega's pulse quickened. "Are you saying this is human?" "Not entirely," Hansen said with a grim look. "But it's something human-built. It's our legacy. The ancient networks we lost contact with during the Great Collapse. But the problem is, whoever built this had technology that far outstripped anything we thought was possible." The air in the bridge seemed to grow heavier. The idea of a long-lost human civilization with advanced technologies, buried in the forgotten past, was more than anyone had anticipated. They'd expected a discovery, yes, but not a revelation that humanity had once held power beyond their wildest dreams, only to lose it in the course of history. "How long has this been out there?" Vega asked, her voice cold and steady. 1,000 years, Hansen said softly. "Maybe more." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. 1,000 years of forgotten history, buried in the stars, hidden away by time, now unlocked and laid bare in front of them. But if humanity's future lay in this ancient network, what price would they have to pay to reclaim it? Captain, Delaney spoke again, his voice tense. There's something else. Vega turned to him. What is it? The station is responding to us. The map's coordinates are shifting. It's recalculating, like it's expecting something or someone. A cold shiver ran down Vega's spine. What do you mean, recalculating? It's like the station is changing its focus, Delaney said, his voice growing more urgent. Like it's adjusting to a new course. Something is wrong, Hansen muttered, her eyes scanning the data feeds. The station was dormant for so long, but now, it's alive. It's awake. Whatever power it's drawing on, it's pulling us into its orbit. Vega's mind raced. She could feel the weight of the situation pressing on her shoulders. The station, this legacy of humanity's past, was now active, and its course seemed to be inextricably linked to Earth. The message it had sent out, the signal still pulsing through the cold expanse of space, it was like an invisible hand pulling them towards something they couldn't understand. Do we have any other options? Vega asked, though she knew the answer. There's no way to stop it, Delaney said, his voice grim. If we want to turn back, we're going to have to make it out of the system first. But with that station tracking our every move, we might not have the time or resources. Vega clenched her fists, her resolve hardening. This wasn't just a mission. It was a turning point. A potential disaster, or perhaps a new era for humanity. They had awakened something, and now they had no choice but to face whatever it was. The future was unfolding before them, but whether it would be their salvation or their doom, they couldn't yet know. Prepare the crew for what's ahead, she ordered, her voice unwavering. We're going to find out exactly what we've unleashed, no matter the cost. Humanity's future lies in this, and we can't afford to back down now. As Elysium powered through the dark void of space, the crew braced for the unknown. The map on their screens continued to blink, its ominous coordinates locked on Earth. But as the ship neared the coordinates, the mystery deepened, and Vega knew one thing for sure. Humanity's future was about to change forever. As Elysium drifted closer to the coordinates, the crew felt the weight of the unknown press down on them. Each second seemed to stretch longer as they approached the center of the ancient system. The faint hum of the ship's engines was the only sound on the bridge. Captain Vega stood at the helm, her fingers lightly tapping against the console as she reviewed the data. Captain, I'm picking up an anomaly, Delaney reported from his station. His voice was steady, but there was a slight edge to it. There's something in the vicinity. Something. Large. Vega's brow furrowed. What kind of anomaly? It's not showing up on any standard scans. It's like it's hidden behind a distortion field. We can't get a clear read. A chill ran down her spine. The idea that something of this magnitude had been hidden for so long, cloaked by some unknown technology, only deepened the mystery. She glanced at Hansen, who was staring at the data feeds with wide eyes, her fingers tapping the screen rapidly as if trying to find something she might have missed. Dr. Hansen, Vega called. Do you see this? What could create such a distortion? Hansen's voice was barely above a whisper as she muttered to herself. It can't be. No, it doesn't make sense. Delaney turned to her. What is it, Doctor? The readings suggest. Hansen trailed off, then looked up sharply at Vega. It's a ship, a massive one, but it's not human. Vega stood silent for a moment, processing the information. A ship, not human. The implications were overwhelming. They had known about ancient human technology, but this was something else. Something far older. Are we talking about another alien species? Vega asked, her voice cold and precise. I can't say for sure, Hansen replied, her eyes locked on the display. But the structure of the anomaly isn't consistent with any known alien tech. It's something else. It's like it was made by humanity, but not the humanity we know. Vega's heart raced. How is that even possible? I don't know. But it's there, Captain. Whatever it is, it's been waiting. And we're walking right into it. Just then, the ship's lights flickered. A low rumble echoed through the corridors, and the ship's eye, Orpheus, came online with an urgent tone. Captain Vega, we are entering an unknown zone. It appears to be a dimensional rift. Initiating precautionary measures. The whole crew tensed. Dimensional rifts were not just rare. They were extremely dangerous. Ships that ventured into them often never returned. The very fabric of space-time seemed unstable. But the fact that Elysium was moving toward one now, it was a horrifying thought. Can we stop? Vega asked, though she already knew the answer. It's too late, Orpheus replied. We are being pulled toward the source. The ship jerked suddenly, as though caught by some unseen force, and Vega felt a gut-wrenching pull deep in her stomach. The stars outside seemed to swirl, their paths distorting as if they were alive, bending toward something. The ship lurched again, this time with far more force, and alarms began to blare. We're caught in its gravity, Delaney said, his voice rising with alarm. Captain, we can't break free. We're being dragged in. Vega gripped the console harder. Prepare the crew. We're not turning back now. Whatever is waiting for us, we have to face it. We've come too far. As Elysium hurtled through the distorted space, the crew had no choice but to brace for impact. Time itself seemed to slow as they approached the source of the anomaly. With each passing moment, the massive ship, hidden from view only moments before, became clearer. Its silhouette began to emerge from the distortion, an impossibly ancient structure, gargantuan in scale. It seemed to hum with life, a strange energy radiating from it that tugged at the very air around them. Captain Vega's mind raced. What was this place? What had been hidden here, beneath the veil of time and space? And most importantly, what would they find when they docked with the ancient structure? Captain, Hansen said, her voice barely audible, this isn't just any alien ship. I've been looking at the design. It matches human architecture, from a time long forgotten. Vega's heart skipped a beat. Are you telling me this is human-made? Yes, but it's not the humanity we know. This is something far older, something more advanced. Before Vega could respond, the ship's AI spoke once more, its voice now tinged with urgency. Captain, the ship is opening a docking bay. We are being invited inside. The crew exchanged uncertain glances. What do you mean, invited? Vega demanded. Automated systems have activated, Orpheus explained. The docking bay doors are opening, and the ship is preparing to receive us. A deadly silence hung in the air. Vega felt a deep sense of foreboding. There was no turning back now. Whatever waited on the other side of that docking bay could alter the course of humanity's future forever. Would it be a discovery of untold power, or would they be stepping into a trap set by forces long gone? Prepare for docking, Vega ordered, her voice steady but filled with a quiet determination. We've come this far. We can't afford to fail now. As Elysium slowly approached the massive alien ship, the crew gathered themselves. The unknown lay ahead, but with it, the potential for salvation or destruction. With each passing second, the tension on the bridge grew, and Vega could feel her heart beating faster. They were about to step into a new era, one that could either define humanity's future or bring it to a crashing end. The ship's doors loomed larger, and the crew braced for what came next, knowing that the fate of humanity, their very future, hung in the balance.